All right, good afternoon, good evening. We are letting people in. We have Miss Sanchez here that can answer some Spanish questions. Feel free to write any questions in the chat box and we'll be glad to answer them. We are going to keep, um, if you'll write a message on the chat, we will we will unmute you so that you can ask your questions. If you prefer to do it like that, or again, you can include it in the chat box. Does anybody have any questions for 8th grade or Spanish specifically?
Ms. Moore, Mr. Velez, would you have any questions?
Mr. Velez, I'm going to unmute you. That way, feel free to ask your question. There you go, sir. Or Miss Kinley Moore, do you have any questions? I'm unmuting you now.
Hi.
There you go. Hi.
We don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
I don't think we do. Do you have any questions? No.
About the course.
I'll just leave it unmuted.
Yeah.
Ms. Sanchez, I guess as people are coming in, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the Spanish program there at Bush? I think that might actually prompt some thinking and some questions that they might have.
Most definite. I'm saying this is my going on my fourth year.
You're breaking up a little bit, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay. Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, a little bit better.
Okay. I was teaching high school previously, Spanish 1 and 2 and 3. And to that, I have been on all levels to date.
I'm sorry, I can't hear her.
Yeah, I thought it was my connection, but I think it's your microphone. If you tilt it down a little bit, I think that might work. Here, I've just unmuted you again.
Okay, better?
Yeah. Oh, much better.
I apologize. It was hooked up to my old headset that got damaged. I'm Senora Sanchez. Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Good evening. I'm going into I believe my 8th year in education here in the United States. Been teaching here in the U.S. past 8 years, and previously I was teaching in Mexico 4 years before that. I have taught all levels. Before middle school, I was in high school, taught Spanish 1, 2, and 3. Before I was in high school, I was in elementary, taught K through 5th, bilingual Spanish. So I've been on all levels, which covers me. And I've enjoyed every single level. I don't have a preference, but I'm a little partial to middle school because my oldest son just graduated from middle school and my youngest is going into middle school. So they're all bulldogs, and I will have a new bulldog as well. But I teach Spanish 1 and 2 here at Bush, and we pretty much have a project-based instruction, which means I always incorporate art projects into teaching object identification based off of lessons that we're doing. And I also do a proficiency portfolio, which gives students a chance to understand and see their progress live in front of them because they have to track it, monitor it, and reflect on their progress. So it is very important that the students, they're always engaged. They're always engaged in tracking their progress throughout the entire year. And I pride myself on almost a 98% passing rate. All of my years I've been here at Bush. And so students leave with a wealth of knowledge going into Spanish 2. And not only that, but feeling confident. So I bring a lot of diverse ideas to the table, and am willing to help every single one of these students grow in any way, being here at Bush with me.
They can also earn credit for high school credit. Is that correct, Ms. Sanchez?
That is correct. So you're able to take this course two different ways. You're able to take this 1A, the first half in 7th grade with Mr. Rosique, and the second half in 8th grade with me. So the first half is called 1A, second half is 1B. The second way is that you take the entire year, the entire credit with me, your 8th grade year. So I'm a little partial for you taking it with me your 8th grade year, because it's a continuum way of learning, and it's less complicated and less, you have more continuation in your learning. It's not too much interruption. And I think that's very important for language learning, not too much interruptions, and that's consistent. So those are the two different ways you can take it. And obviously you do have your high school credit given at the end of the year.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that tends to be the biggest question, or the most frequently asked question from parents is, we want to take advantage of this credit that we can get for high school while we're in middle school. So that really, thank you for explaining that to our parents. We continue to get parents in here. I know that Ms. Sanchez has shared some information with you all. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, a specific question you'd like to ask about the Spanish program, put a little message on the chat and I will unmute you and you can ask the question, and we will answer as many questions as you all have. Because this is your time, and so we want to make sure that we answer everything that we can for you and give you as much information as possible.
So if there's anyone coming in from another district, another tidbit of information to know that's helpful is, if you come from an outer district other than Northeast that you already have taken Spanish 1, you're able to take Spanish 2 with me, because I do teach the entire level 2. So currently I have about 4 Spanish 2 students that I'm actually teaching. So imagine this, they are going to have both of their high school credits leaving 8th grade, which is incredible.
I was going to say that is a select group of students in that
Very
classroom.
select.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. All right. There is a question there from Annabelle, and says, do we do any projects in Spanish 1?
Good question. This year has been very tricky, Annabelle, Mr. Amori, very tricky to do projects, because usually we're always sharing a huge bucket of markers. We're sharing rulers, we're sharing paper. My room was almost like a secondary art room, because we did nothing but project-based. This year has been very challenging because we can't be sharing things. So everything's been digitalized. Nevertheless, hopefully when we can go back to more normal ways, most definite, we are doing projects. And I want to share with you on the page of where we have all the Zoom links, mine says Spanish, and you're able to click through a PowerPoint presentation that I showed you all different ways how I've introduced Espanol to our students through projects.
Excellent. We had another question, says here, would a student be able to take art in Spanish instead of AIM? And yes, they can. The AIM class really becomes like a homework class. It's an opportunity for students to get some of their work done while at school, get some of the homework done. It is not necessary, not for 8th graders. Now, 6th graders do have an AIM class built into their schedule. So the requirements are different for different grade levels. But in 8th grade, they don't have to have an AIM class. So they could take art and Spanish instead of AIM. Another question is, can you go over the 2 ways to get credit again? Miss Sanchez, you did such a great job with that.
Most definitely. That's the number one question I've got
Mhm.
ever since I've arrived to Bush, because it really wasn't really clear, per, I guess, the previous years that there were options, right? And you do have options. And it really depends on what type of a learner are you. So
Mhm.
this is my suggestion. We offer two different ways of obtaining the high school credit for Spanish 1. And this is the way. 7th grade year, you take 1A. Okay. 1A. That is with Mr. Rosique. You're going to learn the first little introductory part. I call it a very light introductory year. It's an entire year. Okay. You then in your 8th grade sign up for 1B. That will be with me. So I will prepare you for Spanish 2, and obviously you exit out the credit with me. The rigor is way more difficult. I have to make sure that you are ready for level 2, which is a significant jump. So that's option 1. Entire 7th grade year and entire 8th grade year. Then you have option 2, which I recommend, not because of it, but because I believe in consistency. I believe that language, you have to consistently do it, hear it, say it, speak it, practice it for it to stick. And when there's an interruption a little bit, which is summer, which I understand, but still that is the interruptive time. With 8th grade and the 8th, you're going to take it consistently with me. And that's called 1F. And so the class codes are on the video that you're going to watch for me where it says Spanish. And I give you the class codes for those options. So you can take half in 7th, half in 8th, or the entire year, 8th grade with me.
Excellent. Thank you so much for explaining that again. Yeah, you kind of have to figure out what works best for you. Do you want to be immersed? Do you want to have that as a full year and just kind of be surrounded by the Spanish? Or do you want to break it up?
Now, the other tidbit, Senor Saldana, when we're talking about native speakers, so these are for people who already speak Espanol. Now, I will speak for my colleague, for Mr. Rosique. He teaches we call it the pre-AP, which is the native speakers. Okay. Now, let me explain what that is, because I don't teach the native speakers, but like anything, every year something can change. We don't know. But all I can tell you is, to the best of my knowledge, what he teaches and what I imagine what he follows is that you have to take an entrance exam to be let into the native speakers. Okay. Which means you need to contact your counselor and say, I want to be in the native speaker. I would like to be in the native speaking class. Then they will give you an exam to see if your level's up to par. And if it is, if you score a particular score, then they let you in. If you don't make a score that's high enough for the native speakers, then they're going to suggest, obviously, you come with me. So with the native speakers, you speak nothing but Espanol. You are reading, you are writing, and dialoguing and speaking. So that is for people who already I want to say, I don't want to say dominate, but have an advantage of a very basic novice learner, which is, I would say, to about maybe a 10 to 15% barely understanding of the language. So we're working from ground zero. We're working from a novice to intermediate high with me.
Any saxophone in 15.
So that's pretty much the best way that I can explain being in a native versus the 1A and the 1B. But that is for my colleague, what he teaches.
Mr. Rosique. Excellent. Thank you again. Again, folks, any questions that you might have regarding Spanish and what that course requires, how you take the classes, this is your opportunity to ask. We've got the expert Ms. Sanchez here with us. In case you're just curious, I see De Leon. Andrea, I'm gonna unmute you. There you go.
Thank you. I'm in 6th grade, and I'm planning in 8th grade to take the pre-AP Spanish because I'm already a native speaker and I speak lots of Spanish.
Perfect. That is a good plan. Thank you for sharing that, Andrea. We do have a question in the chat box. It says, how much of the course is speaking versus writing? Good question.
That is a equal amount. There is no more speaking than no more writing. It's all balanced out equivalently. I believe that you have to speak, read, and write in order to learn the language. So I do not focus solely on writing. I do not solely focus on reading, neither on dialoguing. I've been into classrooms that teachers solely focus on just talking, right? And not writing anything. But having a lot of experience, like I said, I've been teaching this for almost a decade. And it's been through trial and error to see what has worked for students. Honestly, I've seen what sticks with students. And I manage a proficiency portfolio, like I mentioned earlier. And what that is in the district on the high school level, you consistently keep up with your proficiency portfolio. And what that means is proficiency is the level at how we communicate. And in language, for you to be able to gauge how much you have learned, you have to be able to physically see your progress. You have to go through student checklists. You have to say, I am able to speak. I'm able to greet. I am able to invite someone. I am able to tell time. So the proficiency portfolio walks you through that process. Now, what I have added, my attaché or my important, I would say the Miss Sanchez method, is I created about 40 questions that I call my proficiency questions that I go through with my students from day one. And I increment it in difficulty, and I increment it in, we first learn how to ask, then we learn how to write, and then we have to learn by asking by memory. That is in the hierarchy of learning language. So that is what I do. That's my method. Obviously, you're obviously going to be reading, writing, thinking, and breathing Espanol whenever you do this with your partners. And that's incorporating everybody in the room. I try, if we are virtual still, or if we're in the classroom, you're going to be able to speak to everyone in the room. I believe you should experience a different level every single time, not just with one person throughout the year. So that's the best way I can explain that.
Excellent. Very, very good explanation. There was a question also, if I understand Spanish but don't know how to speak it that well, what do you recommend? And I'm not obviously gonna let you answer, Ms. Sanchez, but I'm gonna tell you from personal experience. I grew up as a Spanish speaker, but in order for me to learn English, I would just immerse myself in English. I remember growing up watching the Dukes of Hazzard every afternoon after school, just so that I could hear it, you know. And I'm glad that I didn't end up with a Southern twang with it, but just listen to it, hear it, practice it, try it. That's one of my recommendations. But I'll turn it over to Ms. Sanchez. What do you recommend?
That's an excellent question. So my opinion, my humble opinion is, like I said, we all have different modes of learning, and we have different levels of learning. And some of us are auditive, some of us are contextual, some of us learn through conversation. But I believe that having a solid foundation in level 1 is very important. If you do not have a solid foundation in level 1, your level 2 and level 3 and level 4, you will still see those gaps that you should have learned in level 1. So what does that mean? If you feel that your grammar, you need to learn present tense verbs, how to say, for an example, nosotros vamos a la tienda. If you're still thinking, nosotros van a la tienda, well, that's obviously not the right verb. You have to learn the technicality and the mechanic of the language to be able to converse correctly. So my opinion is that if you still feel a little shaky or a little wonky, come with me and I will teach you. And I will teach you and give you a foundation, and I will give you ample resources that you have, that you feel confident, because I want you to feel confident in that second language. I don't want you to feel wonky. So let's get you situated in the confident level, and to pass you on to level 2.
Great, excellent. Ms. Dominguez asked the question, my daughter is in 6th grade. Am I understanding correctly that if she takes Spanish in 7th and 8th grade, that fulfills her requirements to graduate from high school? And it only fulfills 1 credit, correct, Ms.
That is
Sanchez?
correct. That
It
is
only
correct.
fulfills. Mhm.
Yes.
So I hope that helps out, Ms.
Now, my
Dominguez.
question, another question, Señor Saldana, when it comes to the native speakers, the
Mhm.
native speaker credit, since that's a pre-AP credit, are they granted 1, which are 3 credits for high school at the end of the year, or is it they have already finished the 2 requirements for language learning?
You know, you've got me on that one. I'm going to invite a counselor, see if they can join us, and we'll come back to that question.
Yeah, Miss Saldana should know that.
Yes. Miss
But
Sandoval.
yes, the 7th grade year, you're going to take the entire year with Mr. Rosique. He does the introduction part, and then I take over and do the rest, the more difficult grammatical, technical writing, speaking, and level 2 all year.
All right, we've got another question. Can my daughter take Spanish if she already knows some Spanish?
Most
And
definite.
yes, most definitely.
Most definite. And we want learners like that. I have all levels of learners in my class. And the beauty of it is that I believe you
They
should
learn
have a
from each
little bit
other.
of everyone, because still my language learners that are still native speakers, they are still learning grammar. And the example that I give students is that, okay, when you go into an how do you say it?
ELAR,
ELAR
ELAR.
class.
English language arts.
You still take English language arts in 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I says, well, why do you take English if you already know English? And people are like, oh, wow, that's right, Miss Sanchez. I said, it's the exact same method with a foreign language. We're still refining, we're still catching things and still fine tuning adjectives, verbs, direct, indirect object, present, progressives, action words, and just the technicality of how the language works correctly. So like I said, if you already know it, if you know a certain part or a certain generality of the language, perfecto. But there's always something that I think that we could help you out with.
Definitely. Definitely. That is so true. Fantastic. I think we have a couple more questions here. Again, remember, this is your time. So please don't be shy. Can my son take 1A in 8th grade if he decides to take other electives in 7th grade? Do we offer just a half course in 8th grade?
So 1A is only offered in 7th grade. 1B is only offered in 8th grade. 1F is only offered in 8th grade. So the 1A you're only able to take in 7th.
All right, and I see Andrea De Leon has another question. She's raising her hand. Fantastic. We are unmuting. Go ahead, Andrea. Andrea.
And when do you take the test for the pre-AP Spanish?
Those are scheduled with their counselors. Ms. Sanchez, do you have that timeline as well?
Yes, you will speak with Miss Saldana. Miss
Sandoval.
Señora Sandoval, Miss Sandoval, and she will schedule that for you, and you will take that.
Good question.
Excellent question.
Andrea is laying out her graduation plan as we're sitting here.
Muy bien, Andrea. Excelente. That's good.
Yeah, you can never start too early, but don't grow up too quick. Don't grow up too quick. Enjoy your time in middle school. Enjoy your time in these classes too, and in high school. It's a great time. You'll have a ton of fun. I'm going to leave y'all. I just wanted to pop in and say hi to everybody. Good to see y'all. Good job.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
Gracias. Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Fantastic. You guys have asked some really good questions. Again, Ms. Sanchez has a wealth of knowledge and experience that she can answer a lot of the questions for you. Feel free to, again, email Ms. Sanchez, myself. All of those emails, contacts are on our website, are in the Northeast ISD website. There's one more question coming in. It says, so if you don't start with 1A in 7th grade, they lose the opportunity to do this, the 1 credit for language arts and get cut off. Hold on, let me make sure. So again, so if you don't start with a 1A in 7th grade, they lose the opportunity to do the 1 credit for language. No, that is not correct. You can get the 1 credit if you take it the full year in 8th grade. So you don't have to start in 7th grade. That's one way of doing it. 1 semester in 7th grade, 1 semester in 8th grade, or the full year in 8th grade. And that will give you.
I'll share a little bit to help you out. So when I showed up at Bush, I believe I only had 1 class of the 1F. I'm in almost my 5th year, and we have 3 classes of 1F. So I think word got around that with me taking Espanol an entire year was beneficial. So they've added 2 whole classes. So now my 1B classes are almost going to probably, I can bet next year, I'm probably going to have another class of 1F. And so they will be equal. I will have more classes giving the entire credit all year versus just a portion of it.
I think my only caution would be that, you're condensing it into a year, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably a little bit more intense, but then again, you're also getting immersed in it. So here again is where you have to be, or your student has to understand what type of learner are they, what are they going to be the requirements, how much time are they going to have to dedicate to that 1 year in 8th grade to get the entire credit. Andrea, another question.
And what happens if you don't pass the pre-AP test?
Then you
Can you
come
still
with
do
me.
1F?
I would love to have you in my class. I would love to have you in my class. And I actually, right now, Andrea, I have 2 students that are pretty much, I would consider very high Spanish speaking students in my class right now. And they're having a great time because not only are they fine tuning their gramática, tienen que aprender cómo escribir correctamente. Yeah. They are also helping their peers. So that also is awesome, right? So I would love to have you if that happens.
Fabulous. I see Madeline has a question. Let me unmute you.
He's gonna mute.
Go ahead.
Is it for 6th graders or is just for 7th and 8th?
Spanish is starting for 7th graders.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there. If you go to our website, the one with with all the links, it has the choice cards for 6th graders. It tells you what elective 6th graders can choose, but Spanish is not one of them. There's plenty of other fun stuff.
Make sure you come see me though. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, be thinking, right? 7th grade. Be thinking about 7th and 8th grade.
I just have one quick question about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Spanish program.
Sure.
So once she becomes a 7th grader,
Mhm.
is the 7th and 8th grade Spanish, can that be applied towards high school credit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She can
Yes.
take it 2 different ways, and I'll say the short way. She is able to take it in 7th grade, the
Mhm.
introductory part, which is called 1A, the entire year. And then the second half in 8th grade, which is called 1B, the entire year with me. Or she takes it her 8th grade year, the entire year with me, and gets the credit. So it just depends on how she feels. If she wants to be with me for 1 year,
Mhm.
would love to have her. And I feel that the learning is more consistent. Yeah.
Okay.
And if she wants to split it up over 2 years, she can do so.
Okay. So it's more intense, but at least it's at a very consistent pace.
Yes.
And there's reinforcement there throughout the entire year.
Yes.
Okay.
And I very rarely give homework. I don't really believe in language homework. I believe in supporting your skill, such as looking over your high frequency words, looking over your adjectives, looking over your fundamental vocabulario to build your bank of knowledge of words. That I do believe in. And that's very important for support. But as in busy work, homework, no. We do everything in class to help each other out.
Andrea, oh, sorry. Andrea, I see your hand. Give me just 1 second. There's another question that just came in the chat. It says, is Spanish required, and how many years do you have to be in Spanish? And so it's not required correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Sanchez, but it's not required in middle school, but it is a high school graduation requirement. And so
Ah.
one of the advantages of doing it in middle school is you're getting it early.
Mhm. Yes. If I could have taken Espanol, I think I did. I went to a private school, so it was a little bit different. They didn't grant us high school credit. But if it was offered to me in 8th grade, most definitely I would have taken it with getting the high school credit. It takes one thing less off of your plate and
Right.
alleviates the schedule for the student and the learner to take something they really want to, and it gives them a head start. The requirement is doing 2 years of foreign language.
Right.
Now, if that learner wants to learn Chinese or French, perfect. They can start
Right.
as a
It doesn't have to
freshman,
be Spanish.
but it has to be, let me make it very clear, 2 consecutive years of the same language.
Mhm.
It cannot be Spanish and then French, and it can't be Chinese and Spanish. It has to be 2 years consecutively because obviously the district believes in proficiency learning.
Mhm.
And what proficiency learning means, we have to increase our mode of being able to communicate, but we need to do that by being consistent over time.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't specify that. Andrea, your turn.
And in pre-AP, if you take the whole year, you still get the credit?
Yes, you do.
Mhm.
And I'm going to clarify for you if you get 1 year or 2 year credit. I was asking that question today, actually, because I was trying to figure out the correct answer. I don't want to say the wrong answer. So email me and I will have an answer for you. Okay. A correct answer.
What's the credit?
It's your language credit so for high school to graduate, you have to have certain amount of credit, or which you're taking certain classes to graduate. And a requisite, which means 2 classes that you have to take, are 2 foreign language credits. So pretty much what we're telling you is we want you to pick a language, whether it be Spanish, French, Chinese, Mandarin, or German, or French, that you pick a language and you stick with it for 2 years.
Okay.
With those 2 years, you're done with your credit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
As you get into high school, credits are going to be everything you're going to want, because that you have to have a certain number of credits to be able to graduate with different graduation plans. And so kids are going to be, how many credits can I get? How many credits in my science? How many credits in my math? How many credits in my language arts? Like Ms. Sanchez said, you're going to need 2 foreign language credits. So it becomes all about credits.
Okay, thank you. I still have a question, Ms.
Yes.
Sanchez, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, or both. So he's going to be in 7th grade. So he's going to take 7 and 8, needs to have these 2 years of Spanish. So when he gets in high school, he needs 2 more languages, or?
No. So he is able to take Espanol half in 7th the entire year, and in addition, the entire 8th grade year. There's 2 ways of taking this. Think about, you split up the language, you split up the credit in 2 years versus 1 year with me. I think that's the easiest way of saying this. You can take this course in 2 years or take it in 1 year with me. And I'm just a little partial and I'm selling myself, but I enjoy having the consistency in students. And I have found a lot of success of having them an entire year versus chopping it up a little bit. But you have 2 options: 8th grade year, the whole year, which is called 1F, or take half in 7th, half in 8th, 1A, 1B.
Okay, perfect. So do you recommend this? Well, just want to know if you recommend this class. I'm a Spanish speaker and native, and my son, he does not speak very well. So, but he would like to have the credits for high school. Do you recommend this class for him?
Yo sí lo recomiendo, señora. Si se quiere esforzar, lo gramático, por supuesto que sí. Para apoyarlo en saber o sea, la función del idioma, ¿no? No tanto palabritas, pero hacer oraciones, poder preguntar y contestar correctamente. Entonces sí le recomiendo tomarlo, preferiblemente conmigo en su 8º año.
Ok, perfecto. Muchas gracias.
A usted.
Miss Sanchez,
Tell me.
so if I take Spanish in 7th and 8th grade, will I have to do any Spanish in high school?
Yes. So if you take the 1A and the 1B, you still have to take a whole other year in high school. You would take Spanish too.
And if I do just 8th grade,
If
then
you
how
just do
many?
just 8th grade with me, that is the 1F, and then I pass you to Spanish 2, then you're done.
Okay. And one last question, does Spanish count as one of your electives?
Most definite.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fabulous. Great questions. I know that again, the one of the biggest thing is how do we get those credits here in middle school? How do we get them now? Like Ms. Sanchez said, you can, as a student, you can then open up your schedule in high school and be able to try out different classes because you've already taken care of the foreign language component in middle school. So yeah, you're front loading. You're taking care of high school business and middle school.
And I do treat my students as high school students. That is a very effective affirmative comment. And I have high expectations. But I believe when you set high expectations and you're consistent, that the learner does rise to the occasion. And just like I say, I hand in hand walk into level 1 with you, and I will make sure that you cross the finish line. There's not been one student that I leave behind in their learning. So I want you to be confident of that I'm there as support to see it through.
So I've got one more question here that just came into the chat box. Somebody's asking, what time are our classes? Well, this year's a little different. This year we had two days, basically A days and B days. We have 4 classes on each day. Everything from our district so far points to the fact that we're going to have an 8-period day next year. I think we're going back to the traditional 8 periods in one day. So it's all a matter of scheduling. You're going to have and I'm guessing this is a sixth grade person. You're going to have a math class. You're going to have a language arts, social studies. You're going to have a PE. You'll pair that PE with a health class one semester. You'll have an elective. Some kids choose theater arts, for example. Some kids choose arts. And so it's a matter of how your schedule fits. And it makes it all work. I mean, so you have lots of classes as a 6th grader. So I can't tell you what specific time your Spanish class would be. But remember, in 6th grade, you can't take Spanish anyway. So that would be a 7th grade concern. Thank you for that question. 7th or 8th, that's correct. Fabulous. All right, I am not seeing any more questions, but again, this is your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And does anybody else have any questions? We've lost the bulk of our participants.
That is correct, Ms. Datar. So to clarify, if you take Spanish 1 in 7th, which is 1A, in Spanish 1B in 8th grade, do we still have to take Spanish in 9th grade? And that is correct. You will have to take the 2nd year, which is the high school requirement to graduate high school. That would be Spanish 2. So you will either be spending 3 years on language. I'm sorry, 4 years on language versus 2.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have one more question.
Sure.
Yes.
So after the 2 years of Spanish, can I learn like a different language like French?
Please do.
Mm.
We highly encourage that. Please go on to French or go on to German. My colleagues at Reagan and at Johnson, the awesome part is that us language teachers, we're not that many in the district, but we know each other very well. And I would be excited to pass you on to French or German. But know that the Romance language, which is Espanol, your higher probability at learning more easily the language would be French. And that would be really a very easy language to go into, right? But the sky's the limit. Keep on with language until you graduate.
And here's I love that these kids are thinking high school already, because that would give you a different endorsement on your graduation plan. You'd have 2 years of one language and 2 years of another. And those are things that you can discuss with your high school counselors. But it definitely factors into your graduation plans. So, yeah,
Yes.
great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're
De nada.
welcome. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? You guys have been fantastic. We hope that we've answered all of your questions for you. We're excited to have your kids. We got a thumbs up on that. We're excited to have your kids be Bulldogs and join us every day. These have been some trying times, but we hope that things will be better here in the not so distant future. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask one more time. Is there any other questions that you have? You can add it in the chat box now. And as always, you can email us. vsalda1 is my email. Ms. Sanchez, do you want to share your email?
Yes, mine is asanch1. Oh, I'm sorry, asanch11 at naist.net. And thank you for all the lovely questions. They were very good questions. Enjoyed it. Gracias, señor Saldaña. Buenas noches.
Gracias a usted. Buenas noches. We are going to end this meeting. They will be posted. Everything was recorded. So thank you all for joining us. Hope you have a fantastic evening.
Gracias.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Chao.
Hasta luego.